Today is Monday, January 26, 2015, and after fighting with this thing all day, I wanted to show everyone an example of what you find typical in pretty much every car. Volvo has decided to make their heater core, or as they call it, a heater exchanger, actually pretty easy to remove by just this pan right here. Basically what you do is you unscrew the bolts here and it just dips forward. Well, I reassembled it because I have to replace everything except for this plastic tray on top and these metal piping tubes are here. And yeah, these things right here, they become brittle after a while, the entire assembly, so you buy it as a kit. These two hoses over here are really expensive, and this is for a turbo model, and it's actually for a 97 850 T5, and the hoses are genuine, but I believe after a while they start to weep at this junction right here or something like that, or somewhere along here, maybe up here. So when you buy this kit, what Volvo did was they make these quick release couplers up here, which are a pain in the neck to get loose. And there's like 4 O-rings. Yes, there's 4 O-rings in one tube and 4 in the other tube. And it's basically kind of like a red and yellow combination. Oh, sorry, red and black combination. But what happens is when you have the heat in the car, what happens is you have a giant evaporator, you have a giant box, what's called a climate control box for the heat and for the AC, and you have an evaporator sitting over here, if you will, and you have a blower fan, a little squirrel cage, and as it blows across, depending on whether you select heat or cold, it blows across. And then when you have dual climate control, it's still one unit, but it just diverts it to the left and right, driver and passengers. This right here is basically what happens is that as the engine runs, I believe this right here is your inlet hose. Your inlet hot water actually comes from the engine block through here, goes through the block, comes down here, circulates through this heater exchange unit, as they call it. Your fan would blow hot air, would blow across here. Hot air would rise, it would come out of the system. And then your return line would actually be one of these two, and it would actually come out. I believe it's the bottom one, the return line, and then it actually would come out here. And this is your return line. So your return line would return the used water back to the in this case the hot water. It would return it back to the overflow tank, or to the reservoir. It would go through this coolant, and then it would come through the thermostat and the radiator again. So that's essentially what the cycle of this is. And turn this thing around if I can. They're not really that expensive, but these things, they last about 10 years, and they're pretty easy to install and stuff. When you buy the kit, here's a good example of the clips right here. When you buy the kit, it actually comes with this little housing right here, and this right here actually goes through the firewall. There's actually this gasket right here and this metal plate right here and stuff. And these actually go, right down there through the hole right there. And so back over here. So essentially, what you have here is you have basically a micro radiator, and after about 10 years it starts to corrode and stuff at the top up there, and you can see up here. And this down here is what happens to it. It's always, so if you see a radiator that's always brown like this, you can tell it's already been pretty much baked. It's on any vehicle, I would assume. And so sometimes you can get away with flushing these systems. You can actually get away with disconnecting these junctions here and replacing just the hose, but 9 times out of 10 it's usually the hoses are going to last as long as the radiator units itself. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to go and shut it down and give it a rest for the night. I kind of come to a stopping point at the car because I'm trying to get the heater hoses installed before I go and cram everything else in there. This is actually directly below the turbo and actually above the rear engine mount, and so that's what I know. All right, later.